God's chosen ones. Beloved chosen one, hear this not as a suggestion, but as a holy declaration. The seal has been set. This is not a metaphor. This is not symbolic. This is divine truth. Long before you ever cried your first tear, long before your name was known to anyone on this earth, heaven etched your identity into eternity's scroll. The seal of the angels was placed upon your life. That seal does not fade. That seal does not break. That seal is your evidence. You are not ordinary. You are marked. You are chosen. Stop scrolling. Listen carefully. The wind in the spirit has shifted. Heaven has pressed pause on everything around you to deliver this word. Your final assignment is activated. This is not a coincidence. This is not some random video on your feed. This is divine interruption, divine disruption, divine instruction. You have been sealed for such a time as this. While others were being celebrated, you were being consecrated. While others were building platforms, you were being built in private. And now, your unveiling has begun. You've questioned why you felt different, why you didn't fit in, why your path always seemed harder. It's because your life was never meant to blend in with the crowd. You were not created for conformity. You were created for conquest. You were born to overthrow systems of darkness with your light. That uneasiness you've been feeling, that's your spirit responding to the activation signal. Heaven is calling you out of hiding. The seal was not just for protection. It was a declaration of ownership. When the enemy looked at you, he saw that seal. That's why hell broke loose. That's why certain doors slammed shut. That's why relationships died. Because the enemy could see the invisible branding of heaven on you and panicked. He saw what you didn't see yet. You are dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. Chosen one, this is your moment. Not 5 years from now. Not next month. Not even tomorrow. Now, the alarms are sounding in the heavens. The command has gone out. The angels have encircled you. The final assignment has been released into your spirit. You feel it, don't you? That stirring inside. That's not anxiety. That's divine urgency. You are being awakened into destiny. This is your call to rise, not with fear, but with fire. You've been carrying questions, but today you receive clarity. You've been feeling pressure, but today you activate power. You've been in a wilderness, but now you're stepping into war, not just to fight, but to win. You were sealed because heaven knew this day would come, and now it has. Heaven's intelligence does not make mistakes. If you're reading this, it's because your name was called in the courts of glory. You are not disqualified. You are not forgotten. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not too weak. In fact, it is your brokenness that heaven will use to pierce the hearts of nations. It is your weakness that proves God's strength. You are not alone in this. Legions of angels have been dispatched on your behalf. You are not uncovered. You are surrounded. And not only by angels, but by a spiritual family of others who are rising just like you. Others who have been sealed, scarred, and summoned. Others who know what it means to be rejected by man, but selected by God. Chosen one. Don't just sit with this word. Respond. Declare in the comments, I am sealed. I am activated. I am chosen. Type it boldly. Let heaven and hell see your agreement. Your public declaration is a spiritual transaction. Don't be silent. In this moment, your agreement activates acceleration. Right now, if this word is igniting something in you like it, share it. Subscribe. This is not for your entertainment. This is a divine connection point. When you like and share, you are not promoting a person, you are propagating a prophecy. Someone else needs to see this. Someone else is waiting for their signal. You might be the very reason they awaken. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Stay connected to this prophetic stream. These aren't just videos, they're assignments. They're scrolls. They're marching orders. Heaven is building a remnant army, and you are part of it. You've been sealed by the angels. You carry the evidence of heaven's fingerprint on your soul. Walk like it. Speak like it. Live like it. Every step you take from now on, take it with this conviction: I am on assignment. And remember this: you are not waking up into confusion, you are waking up into commission. You are not like the others. That ache you've carried in your spirit, being misunderstood, overlooked, constantly set apart. It wasn't rejection, it was redirection. From the very beginning, heaven placed a distinction on you. The path you were placed on was never designed to be crowded. Few would understand it. Fewer still would walk it. But that's because you are not like the others. You were chosen for something that can't be explained by the logic of men. You've tried to blend in. You've tried to silence your light, to make others comfortable, to tone down your truth, just to feel a sense of belonging. But even in silence, you stood out. Even when you hid, something about you still drew the eyes of heaven and the irritation of darkness. Why? Because chosen ones never truly disappear. Even in isolation, your spirit emits a frequency that speaks. I was made for more. Every time you tried to force yourself into a space that didn't fit, your soul grieved. Every time you tried to play small, to settle, to conform, a war began inside you. That war wasn't against people. It was your spirit, rejecting the cage of compromise. You were never created to live a tame, predictable life. The fire in you would not allow it. The world taught you that difference is dangerous. Heaven whispers that difference is divine. What they called too intense, God calls anointed. What they called too much, heaven calls just enough to change everything. You were crafted in the shadows so that your unveiling would shock systems and realign destinies. They don't know the battles you fought in silence, the tears you've cried when no one was watching, the weight you've carried while still showing up with grace and strength. But God knows. The angels know. Heaven watched you in those moments and whispered, hold on. It's not punishment, it's preparation. You were kept hidden for a reason. God was working on you in secret because what He's about to do through you requires a depth that surface-level living cannot sustain. There are assignments with your name on them that require scars. There are people who will only believe because they saw your wounds heal and your hope remain. And though the process has been brutal, the purpose is becoming clearer. The further you were pulled away from the crowd, the closer you were being drawn to the throne. Every lonely night, every season of silence, every misunderstanding was the sound of God saying, I'm setting you apart because I'm about to do something through you that eyes have not seen and ears have not heard. This is why you could never settle. Why mediocrity made you nauseous. Why shallow conversations drained you. You were designed for deeper things. The calling on your life does not permit a passive existence. There is an urgency on your soul because there is a fire on your name. That urgency is not anxiety, it's alignment. Your spirit recognizes that the time for hiding is over. So don't mourn the people who left. Don't regret the spaces that rejected you. They were never your home. They were stepping stones. not destination. The rejection was divine ejection. The silence was sacred space for transformation. The loneliness was leadership training. Now, you're stepping into the awareness of who you really are. The fog is lifting. Your vision is returning. And though your hands still shake, your heart knows. You were never meant to be normal. You were always marked to be mighty. Others were called. You were chosen. Others can afford to delay. You cannot. Others can ignore the pull. But you feel the burning in your bones. The assignment won't let you go. Because you were designed for this. You've always been different, not defective. Not deficient. Divine. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand. Let them mock what they don't recognize. It doesn't change your assignment. It only confirms it. You are not like the others. You are chosen, set apart, and now finally activated. Every attack was training. Every betrayal, every heartbreak, every setback. It wasn't just random pain. It was divine preparation. Heaven was not absent during your battles. God did not fall silent during your storms. You were not being punished. You were being positioned, crafted, weaponized for the final assignment, now resting upon your spirit. Chosen one. Look back at every wound. Every time you asked, "Why me?" the answer was always the same. Because of what you carry. Because of what you're called to release. Because your life is not just about survival. It's about strategy. You were chosen as a divine weapon. And weapons are not born, they're forged. You were forged in fire, trained in darkness, sharpened in silence. And though it felt like abandonment, it was really alignment. While others were being celebrated, you were being seasoned. While others were being elevated, you were being excavated. God was digging deep, laying foundations under pressure so that your rise wouldn't crush you. This is why hell hit you early. Why warfare found you young. Why trauma trailed you like a shadow. Because the enemy identified your potential before you did. He launched attacks not just against your peace, but against your purpose. He didn't fear your past, he feared your future. And every blow you endured became spiritual muscle. Every storm toughened your discernment. Every time you didn't quit, you gained rank in the spirit. You are not fragile. You are forged. That pain you thought would break you, it baptized you. It did not disqualify you, it qualified you. When others fled from the fire, you stood in it. When others collapsed under pressure, you got up again. That's not weakness. That's anointing. That's divine strength. That's the evidence of being chosen. You don't even realize how trained you are. You see scars. Heaven sees strategies. You feel fatigue. Heaven sees firepower. What you thought was trauma was actually tactical. The Spirit of God took what the enemy meant for evil and converted it into spiritual intelligence. That's why you walk into rooms and atmosphere shifts. That's why you open your mouth and demons get nervous. You've been trained in spiritual warfare even when you didn't know it. The conversations that broke you were actually boot camp. The loneliness you hated was leadership preparation. God allowed rejection so you would learn to recognize real alignment. He allowed betrayal so you would learn to read spirits, not words. He allowed you to walk through wildernesses so you would never again be impressed by shallow promises. Chosen one, do not despise your history. Your history is holy. It's the soil where God planted discipline, discernment, endurance. Others read books. You lived battles. Others studied theory. You survived war zones. And all of it was not just for you. It was for this moment. For this final assignment. You carry the residue of heaven and the marks of warfare. That combination makes you unstoppable. You know what it's like to bleed and still lead, to cry and still show up, to be empty and still pour out. And that's why your mantle is heavier than most, because your training has been deeper than most. You don't flinch when darkness moves. You don't cower at demonic resistance. You've seen too much, survived too much, learned too much. The enemy doesn't fear your words, he fears your walk. Your life is a sermon. Your scars are scrolls. And when you move, realms respond. This is why you can't stay silent. Why you can't play small. Why you can't dim your fire just to make others comfortable. Your pain has prepared you, and your preparation demands performance. You're not just anointed, you're assigned. You're not just called, you're commissioned. And heaven is counting on you not to shrink back. What if I told you that your greatest battles were not proof of failure, but prophecy? What if I told you that the enemy only attacks what threatens him? That the resistance you faced was confirmation, not condemnation. You have been through too much to walk away now. Too much has been invested in you. Too much oil has been crushed from your life. To abort the mission now would not just be disobedience, it would be dishonor. You didn't go through all that to stay quiet. You didn't survive all that to sit still. You didn't bleed all that blood to play it safe. Type, I choose my crown. Let those who mocked you see the fruit of your pain. Let those who watched you suffer see you shine. This is not arrogance, this is authority. You have earned your authority in the unseen realms. You have been licensed by heaven and feared by hell. Move like it. Let this be the section where everything shifts in your spirit. Let this be the paragraph that reminds you, it was never just pain. It was always preparation. And now that you know it, there is no turning back. You are not broken. You are battle-tested. You are not lost. You are lethal. You are not waiting. You are walking in your final assignment. You've seen the fire. Now walk in the flame. Demons knew before you did. Before you even understood your identity. Before you ever heard the word assignment. Before you knew how to pray with authority or discern the atmosphere. Darkness already had your name on a list. They watched you be born. They tracked your steps. They recognized your potential even when you were just learning to walk. Because in the spiritual realm, identity is not hidden, it radiates. Hell saw the seal on your life before you could even speak. That's why the attacks came early. That's why confusion and chaos tried to take root in your childhood. Because the enemy doesn't wait for you to become, he strikes when you're still becoming. He hoped to distort you before you discovered you were divine. He hoped to destroy your belief before you ever discovered your calling. But here you are, still breathing, still waking up, still seeking, still pressing in. That alone is a miracle. It's proof that heaven has preserved you and that hell has failed. Again and again. Hell sent waves of warfare, hoping that at least one would wipe you out. But not one succeeded. Not one arrow struck your core. Yes, you've been wounded. Yes, you've felt broken, but never destroyed. And now, the tables have turned. The very demons that stalked you now shudder when you wake up, because they know the moment you fully realize who you are, the moment you fully embrace what you carry, the territory they've occupied starts crumbling. Strongholds start shaking. Altars start falling. The illusions they built begin to shatter. They knew you were different. They saw the dreams, the clarity, the hunger, the refusal to quit, the refusal to bow. You never really fit in with rebellion. Even when you tried to silence your spirit, heaven kept whispering to you. Even in your lowest moments, the light in you would not go out, and hell couldn't comprehend it. You were not just a target, you were a threat. That's why, every time you got closer to clarity, confusion followed. Every time you moved toward peace, chaos would strike. It wasn't bad luck. It was backlash. You weren't just existing, you were advancing. You were waking up. And hell does not fear churchgoers, it fears awakened ones. From a young age, you saw things others didn't, felt deeply, dreamt prophetically. You carried empathy like armor. You noticed spiritual weight in rooms long before you had language for it. That wasn't random. That was heaven's fingerprint. You were born marked, sensitive to atmospheres, tuned to the frequencies of heaven. And demons saw it too. So they tried to desensitize you. With trauma, with betrayal, with heartbreak. They tried to harden you so your heart would stop discerning. They tried to mute your voice before it grew into a weapon, but none of it worked. And now, the time has come when what they feared most is happening. You are awakening to your authority. You can't be lied to anymore. You can't be seduced by shallow pleasures anymore. You can't be manipulated by guilt or fear anymore. Because something inside you has been lit, a fire that will not go out. A realization that you were never a victim of life, you were a vessel of light. You are now in the place where your history collides with your destiny, where your pain fuels your purpose, where your scars become scrolls of divine instruction, and demons tremble because they know that once a chosen one fully steps into awareness, hell has no more control. They knew you before you knew yourself. But now that you know, now that the veil is lifting, now that the Spirit is speaking clearly, you are about to become unshakable. Not because you're perfect, but because you're sealed, covered, commissioned, no longer wondering, no longer guessing, just walking in truth. Let this truth settle deep within you. You were never weak. You were never too emotional. You were never too much. You were never cursed. You were never abandoned. You were just dangerous to darkness. And now that you know it, you are ready to wield that awareness. Chosen one, don't be surprised when resistance rises. It's not a sign to retreat. It's confirmation. You're disrupting systems. You're not fighting for victory. You're enforcing it. You're not begging for authority. You carry it. Demons recognized your seal before you even understood it. Now, you walk in full knowledge of what they've feared all along. You've been shadowed, but now you shine. You've been followed, but now you lead. You've been underestimated, but now you speak with thunder in your voice and heaven in your breath. This is who you are. You are not rising, you have risen. You are not hoping, you are knowing. You are not praying for clarity, you are declaring with certainty. They knew before you did, but now you know too. Wake up, warrior of light. You have lingered in hesitation too long. You've circled the same spiritual mountain, wondering when the time would come, when the right moment would arrive. Let me make it clear. That moment is now. Heaven has not only issued your call, it has sounded the trumpet. Delay no longer, because your delay is the enemy's delight. You were never meant to sleep through this war. You were never fashioned for silence while darkness screams. The earth groans for the revealing of the sons and daughters of light, and that means you. You who have been hiding behind self-doubt. You who've been waiting for more signs, more confirmations, more perfect conditions. Stop waiting. The signal has already been given. Every day you hesitate. An opportunity is lost. Every day you shrink back. Territory remains unclaimed. This isn't about ego, it's about obedience. There are people waiting on the other side of your yes. There are lives connected to your awakening. Your silence is not harmless. Your stagnation is not neutral. Heaven is counting on you to rise. And you're not rising into confusion, but into clarity. The very things that once confused you are now becoming tools of war. Your pain is no longer a burden, it is becoming a blueprint. Your wilderness has forged wisdom. Your tears have softened your vision, so you can see deeper, clearer, holier. All of it was preparing you to carry this mantle with fire and focus. You've spent years underestimating yourself because you were surrounded by people who couldn't recognize your assignment. They saw you as ordinary because your light unsettled their darkness. But you were never ordinary. You were divine disruption, walking in human form. The resistance you faced wasn't a sign you were off track. It was confirmation that you were marked to lead. This is your turning point. The time for second guessing is over. You can't afford to entertain voices of fear when heaven has spoken destiny over you. The final assignment has been activated, and the realm of the spirit is watching your next move. And no, you're not unprepared. You have everything you need. The authority, the discernment, the fire. Even when you feel weak, the power in you is not yours, it's His. That's the secret of the chosen ones. They walk boldly, not because they trust themselves, but because they trust the one who sealed them. You are that chosen one. Your story is not over. In fact, it's just beginning. The chapters ahead are not filled with wandering, they're filled with divine instruction, impact, and victory. And now, with clarity in your eyes and a roar in your spirit, you are stepping into the part of your journey that hell tried to keep you from. Warrior of light, I say this with urgency. It is time to move. Speak when you're afraid. Obey when it costs. Stand when it's unpopular. You are no longer waiting for the world to give you permission. You have already been authorized by heaven. If this message is resonating with the fire in your bones, do more than just listen like this video. Share it with another warrior, and make sure you're subscribed. These are not just encouragements, they are lifelines. In a world filled with noise, this space is a stream of prophetic clarity. And if this ministry has been a voice in your storm, a light in your confusion, consider sowing into it. Your support is not just financial. It is prophetic agreement. It says, I believe in this message. I'm part of this movement. I'm aligning with the frequency of heaven. Whether it's $1 or 100, it fuels the fire. It helps spread the message to those who still think they're forgotten, to those who are one word away from awakening. This isn't charity. This is kingdom partnership. And when you give into fertile ground, you don't just support it, multiplies back to you. Time, favor, clarity, peace, alignment. You were never meant to stand still, never meant to blend in, never meant to settle for spiritual survival. You were born to shift things, to disrupt darkness, to awaken others by your very existence. So rise. Warrior, the battlefield has waited long enough. The trumpet has sounded. The angels are watching. The heavens are ready. And now, so are you. The scrolls are being opened, not by man, not by tradition, not by intellect, but by divine command. The angels have descended, carrying the next chapter of your life's assignment. And in the realm of the Spirit, ancient doors are swinging wide. Hidden instructions that were once sealed are now being whispered into your spirit. You've felt it, haven't you? That strange tension between restlessness and readiness. You know you can't go back, but you don't quite see all the way forward. That's the moment when the scroll begins to open. When heaven starts to reveal what has been hidden, not because you were unworthy, but because the timing wasn't right. But now, it is. You are not crazy. You're not unstable. You're not too intense. What you've been feeling is a prophetic pull, a sense that something sacred is happening behind the veil. And you're right. It is. The scroll of your final assignment has been unsealed. What was once locked in mystery is being released in clarity, line by line, instruction by instruction, direction from the throne room of God Himself. This is not just knowledge, it is revelation. Revelation doesn't entertain, it transforms. It realigns your steps. It rearranges your schedule. It recalibrates your vision. And once it's released, you can't unknow it. You can't unsee it. You can't return to ignorance and still have peace. Heaven is speaking your next steps. The whispers are becoming instructions, and the instructions are becoming blueprints for ministry, for movements, for moments that shift bloodlines. You're not receiving information, you're receiving divine intelligence. And your obedience will determine how far this scroll will unfold. Some instructions are strange, uncomfortable, unfamiliar. That's the test. Will you obey when it doesn't make sense? Will you move when others mock? Will you step into the unknown because the voice of God said, "Go, chosen one"? The scroll is being opened over your life because you are trusted. Not perfect, not sinless, but trusted. Trusted to listen, trusted to obey, trusted to carry something sacred into a corrupted world. You don't need a pulpit, you are the pulpit. You don't need a platform, your obedience is the platform. This season requires a sharper ear, a pure heart, a quicker response time, because the scroll won't be read aloud forever. There's a window of revelation. Miss it, and confusion returns. Miss it, and delay becomes disobedience. That's why you're feeling pressure. It's not just warfare. It's urgency. The scroll is being read. Heaven is watching to see who will respond. And it's not about being the loudest voice. It's about being the most yielded. You don't need to strive for exposure when you follow the scroll. Doors open that no man can shut. The scroll will take you where your skills never could. It will place you in rooms that degrees and connections couldn't reach. It will unlock hearts that have been sealed by pain and deception. You were born for this, to be a carrier of scrolls, to hear what others ignore, to see what others deny, to move in sync with a realm that cannot be touched but always speaks. The enemy fears scrolls because they are specific, they are powerful, they are disruptive. One obedient chosen one with an open scroll can dismantle decades of demonic structures. That's why the enemy has tried to distract you, discourage you, delay you. Because if you ever started reading and obeying the scroll, his plans unravel. And now you are reading every strange stirring, every random vision, every prophetic dream. It's all pieces of the scroll. Heaven is scripting your assignment with more clarity than ever before. And your only job is to read and respond. to carry out what's written with faith, fire, and fierce obedience. You are not waiting on God anymore. God is waiting on you, waiting for you to trust the scroll more than your senses, to lean not on your own understanding, to walk by revelation, not just logic, because the scroll will not explain everything, but it will guide you into everything. There are people tied to your yes, nations tied to your alignment, legacies shaped by your submission. And as you obey, more will be revealed. Revelation is progressive. It increases as you walk in it. Stay still, and it stops. Move, and it multiplies. This is your charge. Chosen one. Protect the scroll. Value it above popularity, above comfort, above fear. Let no voice become louder than God's. Let no opinion outweigh the instruction. You're not called to be understood. You're called to be obedient. And now, to activate this word with a prophetic sign, comment the number 777 below. 7 is the number of completion. 777 signifies divine fulfillment. When you type 777, you're not just engaging, you're agreeing. You're declaring, I am reading. I am receiving. I will obey. Heaven is not looking for the qualified. It is seeking the willing, the yielded, the broken vessels who say, Here I am. Lord, speak. Send me. The scroll is open. Your eyes are clear. And your next move matters more than you know. You carry the atmosphere. It's not something you turn on and off. It's not something you perform or pretend. It's who you are. When you walk into a room, spiritual climates shift, not because of your words, but because of your presence. What resides in you commands alignment. You carry something holy, and the unseen realm knows it before you speak. That's why people feel different around you. Some are drawn, some are repelled, some get uncomfortable. It's not personal, it's spiritual. Their spirits react to the atmosphere you bring. You didn't ask for it. You didn't earn it. You were chosen for it. What surrounds your life is not ordinary energy. It is divine presence, inherited authority. Have you ever noticed how some environments feel heavier after you enter? How tension builds even when you're silent? It's not you, it's what you carry. Heaven's light in you exposes what's been hiding in others. It presses on spirits that were once dormant. It calls things out of hiding. Because you're not just a person, you're a catalyst. And catalysts don't blend in. They change everything. This is why you don't feel peace in certain places. Your spirit is discerning atmospheres that your mind hasn't fully processed. You've walked into buildings that looked beautiful, yet something felt off. That's your spiritual radar activating to process of antennas. You weren't being paranoid. You were being protective. Your anointing doesn't allow you to be casual in contaminated spaces. Chosen one. You are an atmosphere carrier. You don't need to announce yourself. The spirit realm already recognizes you. That's why you face resistance before you speak. That's why attacks often come before you even make a move. Because your mere presence is disruptive, not because of arrogance, because of assignment. You bring the kingdom with you. You walk with heaven's backup, and the weight you carry is not emotional, it's eternal. Angels accompany you. Divine alignment walks beside you. That's why others around you suddenly shift their tone, their behavior, their posture. Your spirit introduces order without a word. This is also why relationships are hard. Not everyone is called to walk beside someone who shifts atmospheres. Some want your light without the cost. Some want your presence but can't handle your purpose. And others, those assigned by God, will recognize you without explanation, because their spirits are tuned to the same frequency. Do not downplay your gift. Do not shrink to accommodate others. The atmosphere you carry is heaven's weapon against spiritual apathy. You break cycles. You interrupt patterns. You carry healing, conviction, clarity, restoration, all without needing to be seen or celebrated. That's power, and you've seen it. You've walked into chaos, and peace followed. You've touched someone's hand, and healing came. You've spoken one word, and people cried not because you were eloquent, but because heaven spoke through you. You are not average. You are not ordinary. You are a temple of the living God, and that truth radiates from you, whether you notice it or not. You don't just enter places, you invade them. Light doesn't ask darkness for permission to shine. It just does. And that's what you've been doing all along, even when you were uncertain, even when you felt lost. You were still shifting things. Your very life became a rebuke to stagnation and compromise. This is why the enemy fights you so relentlessly. He doesn't fear your potential, he fears your presence. He knows what happens when you believe fully in who you are. When you stop trying to prove your worth and simply walk in your identity. When you trust that the God in you is greater than every room you enter. The truth is, the more aware you become of what you carry, the more effective your steps become. You no longer waste energy convincing people. You no longer strive to be understood. You walk in knowing, and knowing is power. You walk into situations, and instead of adjusting to them, they adjust to you. This awareness also brings responsibility. You can no longer compromise in environments you're assigned to shift. You can't flirt with confusion while claiming to carry clarity. You can't engage in what you're called to cast out. You are a walking shift, and that shift begins with your consistency. So, embrace the weight. Embrace the authority. Embrace the isolation that often comes with it. God trusts you to carry this, not because you're flawless, but because you're faithful. Because even when you didn't understand why you were different, you never let go of the fire within you. That fire was your training ground. And now, every step you take is strategic. Every moment you show up is a movement. Every room you enter is a mission. This is who you are. A carrier of atmospheres. A changer of climates. A living, breathing sign that heaven is near. Let that truth settle. Let it reframe how you move. Let it recalibrate how you speak. Because from this day forward, you're not just walking into places, you're releasing purpose with every breath. This is why you survived. Not because you were the strongest. Not because you had all the answers. Not even because you always knew what to do. You survived because heaven intervened. Because the breath of God refused to leave your lungs. Because your purpose refused to die. Because your final assignment had not yet been fulfilled. Every storm you faced had an undercurrent of divine protection. You didn't just make it through, you were carried, shielded, preserved. Even when you didn't know how to pray, even when your faith wavered, even when you questioned your worth, something greater than you refused to let go. You've been through things that should have destroyed you, betrayals that should have broken your trust permanently, losses that should have left you bitter, confusion that should have clouded your mind until you gave up. But still, you rose, not by your own strength, but by grace, relentless grace, grace that outran every lie, grace that covered every scar, Grace that pulled you back from the edge. You've walked through fire and didn't burn, not because you didn't feel the heat, but because the flames couldn't claim you. They refined you, not consumed you. And now, that same fire has become your testimony, not of survival alone, but of transformation. You don't just bear scars, you bear glory. You didn't survive by accident. You survived on purpose, because your life is not your own. Your breath is borrowed, your time is assigned, and your survival was the signal that your assignment is still active. There were moments you thought it was over, moments where darkness felt permanent, moments where silence screamed louder than your prayers. But what you didn't see was heaven working behind the scenes, angels standing guard, the Spirit groaning on your behalf, doors being held shut, not to punish you, but to protect you from what you couldn't yet discern. Even in the moments you collapsed, God caught you. Even in the seasons you wandered, He tracked you, because you were never lost. You were being led, even through the wilderness. And now you can look back and realize, it wasn't the end. It was the making of a warrior. Your endurance was not just about you. It was about legacy, bloodline, others who will be set free because you refuse to quit. You are the interruption, the one who said, "This ends with me." That decision shook realms, and heaven responded by reinforcing your survival with strength. The same grace that kept you is the grace that's now commissioning you. You didn't come this far just to testify, you came this far to activate, to move, to speak, to carry what others dropped, to finish what others ran from. You are not a victim of life. You are a vessel of life. You've been trusted with something that can't be stolen, only surrendered. And you've made it through too much to surrender now. Every sleepless night, every silent breakdown, every moment you chose to hope anyway. Those were not wasted. They were offerings, seeds sown in pain, now preparing to bloom in power. This is your reason. This is your why. You survived because your voice is needed. Your presence matters. Your hands will build what others only dreamed of. Your obedience will tear down what others were too afraid to confront. You are not here by chance. You are not breathing by luck. You are breathing because breath still has a purpose in your lungs, because destiny is still unfolding through your veins. Don't forget how far you've come. Don't minimize what it took just to be standing. Others wouldn't have made it. Money didn't, but you did. Because heaven saw something in you that hell couldn't destroy. Because God authored your days, and not one of them was written in vain. So walk forward, not with guilt, but with gratitude. Not with fear, but with fire. Because you didn't just survive to tell a story, you survived to fulfill one. The final assignment is calling, and you bloodied, bruised, but unbroken are the answer. This is why you're still here. You are the last line, the final defense, the one chosen to stand when all others have fallen back. This is not dramatization, it is divine revelation. The assignment resting on your shoulders is not optional. It is urgent. It is sacred. And it is personal. You are the one entrusted with something that must not be dropped, delayed, or diluted. The cost is too high. The timing is too critical. The mission is too holy. Look around. The world is shifting. Foundations are crumbling. Compromises are celebrated. Truth is under siege. But in the midst of this spiritual turbulence, God has reserved a remnant, and within that remnant, a rare breed, those marked not just to survive, but to stand. You are that one. You are the last line. You've probably wondered why the weight feels heavier on you, why the warfare seems relentless, why even your rest seasons don't feel restful. It's because what you carry cannot afford to be contaminated. You are not just holding a promise, you are holding a prophetic legacy. You are guarding something eternal. Others may come and go. Others may walk away from their calling. But you, chosen one, cannot. You carry something too rare, too potent, too pure. If you were to drop it, generations would feel the tremor. If you were to walk away, destinies would derail. You are that crucial. You are that important. You are that chosen. And yet, heaven isn't panicked. Heaven isn't anxious about whether you'll rise. Because the same God who assigned you has also armored you. You are not standing by willpower alone. You are sustained by supernatural strategy. Angels surround you. Intercession shields you. Grace equips you. You are not empty-handed. You are divinely armed. But understand this. When you're the last line, you can't afford to live like the crowd. You can't afford divided focus. You can't dabble in compromise and still expect clarity. The weight on you demands precision, purity, obedience. You're not called to be relatable, you're called to be reliable. And yes, the pressure is immense. Yes, the loneliness is real. But so is the oil, so is the favor, so is the backing of heaven. Every time you stayed faithful, when it would have been easier to quit, you gained ground. Every time you worshipped in pain, you took territory. Every time you said yes in private, heaven released something in public. Chosen one. The mantle you carry is not just about your life. It's about others who will never meet you, but will walk in freedom because of your obedience. It's about bloodlines that have known nothing but brokenness until you stood. It's about a future that is being rewritten because you chose alignment over applause. This is not the time to second-guess yourself, not the time to consult culture. This is the time to anchor deeper, listen sharper, move quicker. When you're the last line, hesitation equals vulnerability. Indecision equals open doors for the enemy. You must trust what God placed in you, even when you don't understand it, even when it scares you. And when discouragement tries to whisper that you're not enough, remember this. God knew everything about you before He entrusted this assignment to you. He factored in your fears, your flaws, your past, and still said, I choose you. That's not a mistake, that's majesty. So, let the weight rest on your shoulders. Let the mantle settle on your back. You were made for it, built for it, trained for it. You are not the backup, you are the blueprint, not the substitute. You are the solution, not the understudy. You are the answer. You are the one who says, not on my watch. The one who says, the compromise stops here. The one who says, I will not be silent when truth is at stake. That boldness is not rebellion, it's revelation. Heaven revealed your purpose so clearly that silence would be disobedience. And understand this, even if you feel weak, even if you feel overwhelmed, your yes still carries fire. Because your obedience is not based on perfection, it's based on surrender. And surrendered vessels are the most powerful kind. They leak glory. They shift atmospheres. They walk into warfare with quiet confidence and leave with loud victory. You don't need to shout to make demons flee. You just need to stand. You don't need to impress people to change lives. You just need to carry what God gave you. Fully, faithfully, fiercely. Let this be your resolve. I will not drop what I've been given. I will not abandon what I've been trusted with. I will not be distracted by what's popular when I've been given something prophetic. I am the last line, and I accept the weight. And if this word has pierced your spirit, if something in you knows this was written with your name in it, comment, I hear you, Lord. Right now, let heaven and earth record your agreement. Let the angels move on your response. Let the scrolls of your assignment continue to unroll, because your heart has said yes again. You were chosen for this exact moment. You are the last line, and you will not fall. The mantle is upon you now, not tomorrow, not someday. Now, it has descended from heaven's throne and wrapped itself around your shoulders. You may not feel different. You may not see any visible sign, but in the spirit, a coronation has taken place. You've been robed in authority, marked with divine assignment, covered with power that isn't your own. You've walked through the fire. You've endured the crushing. You've passed the tests of silence, of waiting, of watching others rise while you remained hidden. And now, the wait is over. What was once postponed is now positioned. The mantle has found its rightful carrier, and it is you. This isn't a mantle of comfort. It's a mantle of commissioning. It doesn't come to elevate you in man's eyes. It comes to anchor you in God's will. It carries weight. It carries fire. It carries responsibility. This is not the moment to be timid. This is the moment to walk boldly, knowing heaven has spoken your name with fire on its tongue. The shift is not external, it is internal. Something in you has settled. Something in you has awakened. You are not who you were. A year ago, a month ago, even yesterday. You've crossed a threshold, and once crossed, there is no return. There is no turning back. The mantle does not lift. It only increases. You may still feel fear. You may still feel unqualified. But those feelings do not cancel the calling. In fact, they confirm it. Because true mantles are never placed on the arrogant. They are placed on the available, on those who say, God, if you can use anything, use me. And heaven has responded, I choose you. The weight you now feel is holy. The urgency you sense is heaven's reminder that this is not about status, it's about souls. It's about strongholds breaking, families being restored, regions being reclaimed. The mantle on your life is not casual, it is strategic, and hell knows it. That's why resistance has increased. That's why distractions have intensified. Because the enemy sees what you're just starting to believe. You are chosen, and the mantle is real. Don't let the silence of others confuse you. You don't need applause to be anointed. You don't need affirmation to be appointed. Heaven's endorsement is enough, and you have it. The mantle is not the beginning of your journey. It is the fulfillment of all the pain, the obedience, the secret tears, and the lonely nights. It is the reward for saying yes when you didn't even know what you were agreeing to. Now the mantle demands movement, not performance, not perfection, just obedience. When you speak, speak as one sent. When you move, move with conviction. When you pray, pray with fire. When you lead, lead with humility. Because the weight on your shoulders is holy, it was custom made for your spirit. And as you carry this mantle, know this, you are not alone. Heaven backs you. Angels walk with you. The Spirit breathes through you. You do not carry this in your own strength. You carry it by grace, by power, by divine enablement. What once felt impossible will now become natural, not because it's easy, but because you are equipped. If this word resonates in your bones, if the fire in your heart is roaring louder right now, then like this message, so others can be awakened by the same truth. Share it with someone else who's been carrying weight and didn't realize it was a mantle. Subscribe if you haven't already. This space is a sanctuary for warriors like you, receiving scrolls and strategy from heaven. And if this message has poured into your spirit, if this ministry has been a beacon of clarity and confirmation, consider sowing into it. Not out of compulsion, but out of alignment, out of honor, out of recognition that this space is more than content, it's kingdom. Every seed sown helps sustain the sound. It helps this message reach the next chosen one, scrolling, searching, crying in silence. The mantle you carry now will make more sense as you walk in it. You don't need to figure it all out today. Just say yes, every day, every hour, and heaven will keep unfolding the scroll, one page at a time. You've been entrusted, you've been empowered, and now you've been mantled. No more small thinking, no more shrinking to fit into places you've outgrown, no more apologizing for the weight you carry, for the call that rests upon you, for the roar that lives inside your chest. You have lived long enough beneath your inheritance. Now, it is time to rise into the fullness of your identity. The time for second guessing has ended. You were never meant to blend in. You were not designed to survive in shadows. You were built to break ceilings, crafted to be a disruption, formed to shake systems, not submit to them. The way your mind works, the way your spirit discerns, the way your presence confronts complacency, it's all part of the design. And it's time to stop editing yourself to fit in rooms you were meant to transform. You've dulled your shine to make others comfortable. You've hesitated in obedience to avoid criticism. You've postponed your purpose to wait on human confirmation. But none of that served you. None of that honored heaven. You were chosen, not for quiet agreement with the status quo, but for holy defiance against spiritual mediocrity. You see things others miss. You feel burdens others ignore. You dream of more because you were born for more. This isn't pride, it's purpose. This isn't arrogance, it's assignment. And the small thinking that kept you safe in the past will now keep you stuck. There's no room for it in your next. Heaven has already expanded your territory in the spirit. Now it's your mind that must catch up. You must believe that the vision wasn't too big, your belief was too small. That the delay wasn't denial, it was development. You had to outgrow mental cages before you could walk in divine freedom. There is no crown for comfort zones. No glory in staying hidden when the King has called you forward. And now, that call is echoing louder than your fear. You can hear it in your spirit. Rise, build, speak, move, stretch, expand, believe. You've been too acquainted with survival, but now it's time to learn dominion. You've been rehearsing loss, preparing for awaken, anticipating disappointment. None of that belongs to a chosen one walking in their authority. Your thoughts must come into agreement with what God has already spoken over your life. This shift isn't just emotional, it's intellectual. Your mind is the battlefield, and you must wage war against every lie that says you're not ready, not worthy, not enough. Because if the enemy can't take your calling, he'll try to shrink your thinking. He'll convince you to disqualify yourself before you even start. That ends today. From now on, your vision must match your identity. Think like someone who's been seated in heavenly places. Plan like someone who has the backing of eternity. Dream like someone who walks with angels. Speak like someone who carries fire on their tongue. There is a territory that won't be claimed until your thoughts are healed. There are doors that won't open until your mindset changes. God isn't waiting for your perfection, He's waiting for your agreement. And agreement begins in the mind. You have a history of making room for others while playing small yourself. You've encouraged giants while hiding your own sword. But now, the season has changed. The one who cheered from the shadows is being called to the front. The one who prophesied over others is now stepping into fulfillment. Do not fear the spotlight. It is not for your ego. It is for your assignment. You are not stepping forward to be seen. You are stepping forward to be sent. To speak what others avoid. To build what others abandoned. To carry what others dropped. There's a sound coming from your life that hell hoped would never be released. A frequency that will activate dormant spirits, awaken sleeping warriors, and dismantle generational lies. But it cannot come through small thinking. It requires bold minds, healed minds, minds that are aligned with the magnitude of the mantle. So cast off the doubt, renounce the fear, reject the narrative that told you to stay in the background. You were not born for background noise, you were born for divine disruption. What's been placed inside you demands room. Room to grow. Room to be seen. Room to breathe. Expansion starts here. Not just in your environment, but in your thoughts. Stop praying for elevation while thinking like someone still chained to past failure. Stop asking for increase while fearing the responsibility that comes with it. You've already been given everything you need. You just have to think accordingly. You are not doing this alone. Heaven is expanding with you. Every time you think bigger, the atmosphere around you adjusts. Every time you take a bold step, angels reinforce it. The spiritual realm responds to courage, and your courage is rising. This is your breaking point and your breakthrough. The moment where the lid lifts, where the ceilings shatter, where the old thinking finally bows to the new becoming. You were never made to stay small. You were made to carry the weight of nations. No more small thinking. Not today. Not ever again. Confirm your covenant. The time for wondering is over. The season of questioning, hesitating, doubting, it ends here. The Spirit of God is not asking you to casually agree. He is calling you to a bold, public, and prophetic confirmation. This is not for show. It is for alignment, for breakthrough, for the sealing of what heaven has already initiated in you. You didn't stumble across this moment. It was set, appointed, timed by the hands of eternity. Everything you've walked through, everything you've felt in secret, every cry that left your mouth with no human witness, it was all leading here. This covenant isn't about religious ritual. It's about relationship. It's about a sacred yes, whispered from your soul to His throne. God does not force covenant. He invites it. He offers it to those He's called, those He's carried, those He's crushed, and now trusts. A covenant is not a feeling, it's a seal. It says, I won't turn back, even when it's hard. It declares, my obedience isn't based on outcome, but on identity. It is a sacred transaction between the Creator and the created, between the author and the assignment. You may have agreed in your heart before, quietly, privately. That mattered. But this moment demands more. The final assignment upon your life requires public agreement. not to be seen by men, but to be witnessed by heaven. It is a sign that you're no longer in negotiation, no longer running, no longer looking back. Every covenant in Scripture was sealed with a sign. Abraham had circumcision, Noah had a rainbow, Jesus had the cross. And today, your covenant has a simple number, 999. Not random, not generic. It represents completion of cycles, the end of delay, the close of wandering, a final surrender before the fullness of purpose. When you comment 999, it is more than a number, it is a declaration. You are saying, I accept the mantle. I confirm the covenant. I am not walking away. Your fingers are becoming instruments of agreement. Your screen is becoming a scroll, and your name is echoing through the halls of the unseen, resounding with clarity. Here I am, Lord. Seal it. The enemy has whispered that you're still unsure, that you're not ready, that your past disqualifies you, that you'll fail again. But, à covenant silence accusations. It overrides the lies. It burns through guilt. It draws a line in the sand and says, no matter what comes, I belong to the throne. I belong to the mission. A covenant will carry you through seasons when emotion fails. When passion fades, when clarity dims, it will remind you of your why. It will anchor you to truth when everything else shifts. It is not just spiritual, it is eternal. Heaven takes notice. Hell takes warning. This is not about public spectacle. This is about prophetic responsibility. Every chosen one must confirm their covenant, not just with words, but with weight, with intention, with resolve. With a planted flag in the soil of their destiny, your agreement activates angels. It closes the back door of retreat. It opens the next scroll. And from this day on, you will walk differently. The Spirit will begin to release new assignments, new connections, new dimensions. Because you've made your position known. You've crossed the line from called to committed, from invited to embedded, from potential to power. But don't think the covenant means easy. It means eternal. It means backed by heaven, tested by hell, and forged in fire. It means peace that passes understanding and warfare that surpasses logic. But most of all, it means you'll never walk alone. You'll feel the shift. Doors you once had to force will open on their own. People who were unclear about you will either fall away or fall in line. Battles you once lost will now become testimonies of divine intervention. Why? Because you are no longer wandering, you are walking in covenant. The covenant does not make you immune, it makes you immovable. Storms may come, but you won't drown. Fire may burn around you, but it won't consume you. Doubt may knock, but it will not enter. Because when God sees the seal of covenant, He surrounds it. He defends it. He sends resources to protect it. This is your crossing, from one realm to another, from curiosity to conviction, from asking for permission to walking in power. It's not that everything changes instantly, it's that everything shifts spiritually. And spiritual alignment eventually demands physical manifestation. So as your fingers move to type that number, do it with reverence. Do it with certainty. You are saying yes, not just for yourself, but for generations unborn, for territories unseen, for battles not yet fought, but already won. And if there is any voice left whispering doubt, let it be drowned by this truth. You were born for covenant. You were shaped for it, sealed for it, saved for it. This is your moment to confirm what heaven already knows. Comment 999. And as you do, let that number echo in the courts of glory as a prophetic shout. It is done. Unveiled marveled you. Not because you are flawless, not because you are perfect, but because of what you carry within your fragile frame. Because despite the battles, despite the contradictions, despite the pressure, you still said yes. You still chose to obey. You still chose to rise. And heaven has not overlooked that. There are things angels do not fully understand. They move at God's command. They execute divine judgments. They protect and deliver, but they have never known what it means to say yes to God while carrying weakness. They have never been asked to obey while bleeding, to praise while crushed, to trust while trembling. But you have. You, with your human limitations, your emotions, your past, your flaws, you still choose surrender. You still listen for God's whisper when the world is screaming at you. You still believe for promises when the evidence seems silent. And that is why the angelic realm watches you with awe. Because your obedience is costly, and yet you offer it. They were there. Angels were present when you sat in your room crying, wondering if any of this was worth it. They stood silent when you nearly walked away from everything, because the weight felt too much. They observed as you fought battles in silence, as you prayed through spiritual fatigue, as you kept showing up, even when no one saw. They watched and they marveled, because in those moments, you were echoing something ancient, something eternal. You were imitating the faith of Abraham, the fire of Elijah, the resolve of Esther. You were walking a path that only the called can walk. And the angels, though mighty and radiant, do not know that road. They carry out commands, but you carry out covenant. You are a mystery to them, a walking paradox, a vessel of clay with divine treasure inside, a fragile soul housing eternal light. And still, God trusts you. He sends them to protect you, to assist you, to war on your behalf. Not because you are powerful in yourself, but because you are chosen, because you are aligned with a divine plan they've seen unfold since creation. When you worship, angels listen. When you speak truth, they record it. When you choose integrity, they stand at attention, because they see something that even you sometimes forget. You are living prophecy. Every step you take in obedience writes another line in the story heaven is telling through your life. And sometimes, when you've cried alone, when the warfare got so heavy you couldn't stand, there were angels beside you, not judging, just guarding, watching over a life so precious, so powerful, so peculiar, that it carried the signature of the Most High. Even the adversary knows who you are, and he fears you more than you know. Not because you shout the loudest or quote the most scripture, but because you carry consistent obedience. You live with a sealed spirit. You walk in covenant. You have endured what others didn't survive, and you still believe. That makes you dangerous. That makes you rare. That makes you one of heaven's most trusted, and the angelic hosts respond to that. They don't just see your current state. They see your eternal significance. They see how your life links to others, how your choices ripple across generations. They move when you move in alignment. Every battle you fought was never just about you. Heaven and hell both knew it. That's why the resistance was so aggressive. That's why the attacks were so strategic. Because they could see what you were becoming, what you already are in the spirit. And the more you continue, the more heaven moves with you. Sometimes, when you feel isolated, it's not because you're failing, it's because you're being observed, watched, not by man, but by realms unseen. Because what you're building isn't just visible, it's eternal. What you're carrying can't be explained in words, but it can be felt in the atmosphere. You walk into rooms and angels follow. You speak truth and atmospheres shift. You forgive when it hurts, and light floods dark spaces. These aren't accidents. They're echoes of your divine design, and the more you say yes, the more those echoes become tremors in the spirit. Tremors that disturb darkness. Tremors that prepare the way for heaven to move. Even angels marvel at how much God has trusted you with. And still, He offers more. Still, He reveals deeper things, because He sees the root of your obedience. It is love, not performance, not striving, just pure surrender. And that kind of surrender invites heaven's favor. So walk boldly, not with arrogance, but with awareness. You are not alone in your mission. You are surrounded, watched over, partnered with heaven's finest, not because you demanded it, but because your obedience attracted it. Every time you obey, heaven takes note. Angels are not confused by who you are. Even when you are, they see your real name, the one written in fire, the one the enemy fears, the one that echoes in the throne room when you whisper, yes. Un angels marvel. And yet, it's not their awe you seek, it's His. The hourglass has flipped. The grains of time are no longer falling toward delay, they are counting down to destiny. You can feel it. Even if you can't explain it, something in the spirit has shifted. A door has closed behind you, and another has opened before you. But this door does not lead to safety, it leads to surrender, to full obedience, to no turning back. This is no longer a season for indecision. The time for weighing options has passed. You are standing in a divine now, and now means movement. Now means obedience without full explanation. Now means stepping forward, even when the next step isn't illuminated yet. Because the only thing worse than fear is hesitation in the face of calling. There was grace for delay once. Mercy covered the wrestling, the back and forth, the doubts, the questions, the internal debates. But now, mercy is moving into momentum. Heaven is no longer whispering, it's thundering. And in the realm of the Spirit, something has been released that demands a response. This is not pressure from people, it is pressure from purpose. You are not being pushed by guilt, you are being pulled by glory. The delay is over. The instruction has already been issued. Now, it is your obedience that will determine the acceleration. God has not changed His mind about you, but He is watching to see if you will match His urgency, not because He needs you to succeed, but because He wants you to walk in everything He already placed inside you. Delay, at this point, becomes dangerous, because when you resist the urgency of the Spirit, your spiritual hearing begins to dull. When you ignore the promptings too long, conviction starts to sound like noise. Disobedience becomes disguised as logic, and rebellion begins to wear the mask of waiting on God. But heaven is not confused. Heaven knows when a chosen one is stalling, and heaven responds accordingly. There comes a point where silence is no longer safety, it is rebellion, where waiting for more confirmation becomes a spiritual excuse to avoid discomfort, and God, in His love, begins to remove options. Because love will not let you miss destiny, even if it means stripping everything you once leaned on. This is that moment. The hourglass has flipped. The season of spiritual indulgence is over. The season of prophetic urgency has begun. You are not being punished, you are being positioned. But the window is narrow. The call is specific. And the cost of disobedience is rising. No one else may see it, but you feel it. That unease, that restlessness, that lack of peace in places that once felt familiar, that is not coincidence. That is spiritual notification. You've been summoned, and the Spirit is waiting for your move. This is not about doing more. It's about yielding deeper. You don't need to add more to your plate. You need to subtract what no longer aligns. You need to let go of the things that kept you comfortable but constrained, that fed your ego but starved your calling. Every moment you hesitate, the sands fall. Every maybe later is a missed opportunity, not just for you, but for those assigned to your voice, your hands, your obedience. You don't see them yet, but they are waiting. Some are crying out right now, needing the very word, touch, or movement you are holding back. And no, God won't abandon you if you delay, but He will shift what was meant to come through you. He will reroute the mission to another if necessary. Not because you weren't loved, but because you weren't willing. And while His love is unconditional, His assignments are not. This is the cliff edge. The moment where you must leap or lose altitude. You don't get to stay halfway between heaven's plan and human comfort. The urgency is holy. It is not panic. It is prophecy pressing on your bones. Let this reality hit deep. The hourglass does not refill. Once the grains fall, they do not return. This moment will never repeat itself. This invitation will not echo forever. What is being offered now is uniquely timed, divinely orchestrated, and irrevocably important. And yet, there is still hope, because conviction is not condemnation, it's mercy in motion. It means the door is still open, the scroll is still being read, the assignment is still yours to fulfill. But you must act now. You must wake up tomorrow and move, speak, release, shift. You must answer without a backup plan. You must obey without needing applause. You must trust that if God flipped the hourglass, He has also fortified you to finish what He started. This is not a threat. It is a threshold. You can't stay where you are and enter into what's been promised. You can't cling to comfort and call it faith. You can't delay obedience and expect clarity. It's now. So stand, step, move. The hourglass has flipped. Burn the backup plan. Every escape route you've kept tucked away. Every just in case excuse. Every mental exit strategy that allowed you to play small and retreat. When pressure came, set it all on fire. Because where you are going, there is no room for retreat. There is no room for plan B. You were not called to hedge your bets. You were called to go all in. The final assignment resting on your life does not tolerate divided loyalty. Heaven is not negotiating with your fears. It is demanding your focus. You cannot carry the mantle of a chosen one and simultaneously cling to the safety net of your old life. That double-mindedness is the very thing that's been delaying your activation. You've been called into deep waters, and in deep waters, there is no shoreline to return to. You must swim forward or sink in indecision. The anointing on your life requires total surrender. Not the kind that sounds poetic in worship, but fades when it costs something. The kind that says, I don't care what I lose, I refuse to forfeit this calling. And yes, that level of surrender will cost. It will cost you comfort. familiarity, approval, sometimes even relationships. But the reward far outweighs the sacrifice. Because God is not asking you to give up anything unless He intends to replace it with something greater. Not necessarily easier, but greater in value, greater in purpose, greater in alignment. Backup plans are the language of fear. They're born from distrust in divine provision. They whisper, God might not come through, but your spirit knows better. Your history with Him proves otherwise. Every time you leaned in, He met you. Every time you stepped out, He sustained you. Every time you let go, He showed up. He has never failed you, and He will not start now. So, throw the crutches into the fire. Tear up the contracts you made with compromise. Shatter the mirrors that reflect who you were instead of who you are becoming. This is your moment of full immersion, of burning bridges to every lesser version of you. There is no more going back. No more shrinking into shadows when the world demands your roar. No more pretending you don't know what you carry. You've been marked. You've been trained. You've been mantled. And now, you must be fully given. You cannot flirt with your past while trying to marry your purpose. You cannot carry both the call of God and the comfort of complacency. One will always suffocate the other. And heaven has not kept you this long for you to die in indecision. You've come too far, paid too high a price, endured too many battles. This is not the season to be sensible. This is the season to be surrendered. The kind of surrender that breaks chains in silence, that shifts bloodlines without needing applause. That terrifies hell because it can't be bribed or broken. The enemy doesn't fear your potential. It fears your resolve. He knows that a chosen one with no backup plan is unstoppable. A vessel who has nothing left to lose is a vessel who can be used for anything. You are dangerous now, not because you're loud, but because you've decided, because you've set fire to the familiar and refused to return, because you've deleted the excuses and declared, no matter what, I will obey. And as you walk forward, everything behind you will try to call you back. Voices, memories, old comforts, even fear disguised as wisdom. But you must answer with flame, with conviction, with the kind of focus that says, I've burned the boats, I've committed to the cross, I've buried the flesh. I'm not going back. Heaven is not looking for talent, it's looking for trust. And trust looks like burning backup plans, like letting go of the reins, like following divine whispers into unfamiliar territory and trusting that the cloud will not lead you astray. From this moment forward, let your movement be holy. Let your steps be prophetic. Let your life declare that obedience is your only option. And if your spirit is bearing witness right now like this word, share it. And hit subscribe so you never miss another prophetic moment. Let others find the courage to burn their backup plans through your boldness. If this message has strengthened your spirit and aligned your purpose, consider sowing into this mission. Not out of obligation, but out of faith. Every seed supports this fire, this word, this call. Help us reach the next warrior who's still wrestling with retreat. And finally, if your heart is saying, this is me, I'm ready, I'm done holding back, comment below. No turning back. Let heaven record it. Let hell tremble at it. Let the fire in your bones answer the call once and for all. You were not chosen to coast, you were chosen to conquer. You were not marked for mediocrity, you were made for mission. Burn the backup plan, crowned in the fire. That is your story. That is your journey. That is your evidence. You didn't receive your mantle in a peaceful meadow. You weren't anointed in comfort. You weren't affirmed in applause. You were crowned in the heat of affliction, in the loneliness of trials, in the silence of surrender. And that crown isn't made of gold, it's made of glory. It shines not because of polish, but because of pressure, because what you endured didn't just refine you, it revealed you. It pulled forth the parts of you that God always knew were there. Not the polished version, not the curated persona, but the core, the fireproof remnant, the royal blood that has always flowed through you. This is why your crown cannot be replicated. It cannot be copied, counterfeited, or denied. Because it wasn't handed to you, it was forged, formed in the same flames that tried to destroy you. And the irony, the very fire meant to consume, you became the furnace that shaped your authority. You no longer look like what you've been through. The evidence of pain has been transformed into markers of power. You no longer walk with a limp of shame. You stride with the pace of purpose. The past didn't ruin you. It refined your discernment. It awakened your voice. It ignited your vision. What broke others built you. What delayed others matured you. What silenced others gave your voice thunder. You didn't just survive the fire, you walked out of it, crowned. And now you carry an authority that is not learned, not inherited, but earned in the flames. You don't boast in what you know. You speak from what you've walked through. Every word carries weight because it's been tested. Every glance carries grace because you remember what it felt like to have none. And this is why your presence disrupts atmospheres. You don't carry empty revelation, you carry proof. You carry compassion that's been birthed in rejection, patience that was born in long nights of unanswered prayer, wisdom that came from waiting, not rushing. You were made holy in the hidden place. And now that you've emerged, the world may not understand, but the spirit realm does. The light you radiate didn't come from applause. It came from agony transformed into anointing. Chosen one. Your fire wasn't punishment. It was prophecy in disguise. Every loss, every betrayal, every closed door was a divine forge. And your obedience was the hammer that shaped the metal. That's why your testimony isn't just survival, it's sovereignty. God showed his rule through your resilience. Heaven announced its glory through your endurance. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to convince anyone of what you carry. Your walk speaks. Your eyes say what your mouth doesn't need to. The fire may have left scars, but even the scars are sacred. They tell the truth, that something holy happened here. There is a dignity you carry now, not because of pride, but because of what you've paid, a stillness in your presence that comes from having been broken and rebuilt by the hands of the Master. And that's the mark of royalty, not how loud you are, but how deeply you've been shaped. Your crown was not placed on your head in a palace. It was pressed onto your spirit in a cave, while others forgot you, while time seemed to mock you, while silence echoed around you. Heaven was watching. Heaven was crafting. And when the moment came, when the final piece of surrender fell into place, the crown descended, not visibly, spiritually, permanently. And now, you don't flinch at fire. You don't fear heat. You don't run from trials, because you know the truth. The fire does not destroy the chosen. It identifies them. It exposes what can't be burnt. And that's why you are still here. Because there was something inside you that refused to be consumed. So stand tall. Not because life has been easy, but because God has been faithful. Every time you doubted, He confirmed. Every time you broke, he rebuilt. Every time you lost, he restored more than you thought possible. And now, with ashes behind you and glory upon you, you move forward as a living testament. You are crowned in the fire. You shine not because of ease, but because of endurance. And though the world may never understand the cost, heaven knows, and that's enough. Final orders from the throne. These are not suggestions. These are not ideas. These are divine directives etched into the eternal scroll before time knew your name. You are not being asked to consider. You are being commanded to execute. Because heaven has trusted you with the final part of this mission, and delay is no longer a luxury you can afford. You've carried the fire. You've endured the press. You've survived what others didn't. Not so you could rest in what's familiar, but so you could rise into what's final. This moment right now is not about waiting for more signs or seeking more clarity. It's about motion, obedience, completion. There is a precision in the throne's voice now, a cutting clarity that separates the noise from the necessity. What was tolerated in the last season cannot follow you into this one. The distractions, the divided loyalties, the partial obedience, it all ends here. Because what you're carrying now demands your whole life. The throne does not release final orders lightly. These aren't for the crowds. These are for the remnant. The few who didn't break. The few who didn't sell out. The few who still listen in the silence and move at the whisper. You are among them. And because of that, your instructions are weighty. You will be sent where comfort cannot follow. You will speak what others are afraid to say. You will do what others only dream of. Not for recognition, not for applause, but because the assignment requires it. And you no longer live for yourself. You live for the one who wrote your name in fire. The throne has spoken. Move, now. Build what he showed you. Break what he told you. Leave what he has already judged. Love who he assigns. Silence every voice that speaks against his purpose. Finish what he started in you. The earth is groaning, waiting for the revealing of ones like you, fully yielded, fully ready. This is not just your moment. This is your mission. Your every breath now becomes a weapon. Your every step now becomes a decree. Your presence will speak, even when your mouth doesn't. And everywhere you go, you will carry the sound of heaven's decision. This one has been sent. There is no time left to hide. No time to repeat old cycles. No time to babysit excuses. This is not about your preference, it's about your purpose. The throne has sent the word, and now it is sealed in your bones. And though it may cost you everything, obedience will birth more than you ever imagined. Where man said no, heaven will open doors. Where your strength ends, his glory begins. Where you tremble, angels encamp. Because the throne does not send without backing, you will not walk alone. You will see things shift fast now. Atmospheres aligning, resistance falling silent, provision arriving not because of pleading, but because of purpose. You were never meant to beg for resources. You were designed to command them into alignment. Final orders come with final authority, and you have it now. Not borrowed, not theoretical, real, present, tangible. It will be felt. It will be seen, not because you desire it, but because you need it for what's ahead. Heaven equips those it sends, and you have been fully equipped. You are now a living scroll, a walking mandate, a visible prophecy unfolding in real time. And though the cost will rise, so will the weight of glory. You will carry what others cannot, and you will do it with grace, because the throne has already gone before you. So go, without flinching, without wavering, without shrinking. Go as one who has heard the final orders from the throne and has chosen to obey. Word count. Arshu. Win down final 300 words. Chosen one. You've reached the end of the message, but the beginning of the mission. Every word spoken was not random. It was a mirror of who you truly are. You are not here by accident. You have been sealed by the angels, refined by fire, mantled with power, and now commissioned with final orders. There is no more going back. No more wondering if you're enough. No more asking for signs when the scroll is already open. You are the sign. You are the evidence. You are the message that others have been praying to receive. Your final assignment has been activated. The throne has spoken. The time is now. The path is clear. The crown is settled. The angels are ready, and so are you. If this message stirred your spirit, if you felt like every word was written for you, if something deep inside confirmed, yes, I am the chosen one, then don't just scroll away. Like this message. Let heaven know you received it. Share it with someone else who needs to be awakened. Subscribe to stay aligned with every divine release that follows. You are not meant to walk this journey alone. This space is your spiritual home. And finally, comment below. I will obey. Let that be your declaration. Let that be your stamp of covenant. Let the unseen realm take notice. The time of hiding is over. The mantle is active. The fire is real. You are chosen.